Let's make a change. A Caribbean primer for teaching climate change. What is climate change? According to scientists, the Earth's climate has been changing for a while, and the role of humans in the rate of the change has been a cause for concern. Climate change affects every aspect of our lives. A series of disastrous climate-related events have been experienced around the world. This makes climate change an urgent issue for all of us, but especially for young people like you who may have to face its most severe effects in the future.
Check 1 2 2 2 2.
Climate change is caused by various natural and man-made factors. Natural factors include volcanic eruptions. Man-made factors, also called anthropogenic factors, include activities resulting from population and economic growth, such as transportation, electricity, or agricultural production. Most times when we refer to climate change today, we are referring to the changes we have seen due to human factors. These activities release greenhouse gases into the air. These greenhouse gases released from human activities increase the natural greenhouse effect, which works to warm the earth and sustain life. The first climatic change that is therefore often observed is a long-term increase in average temperatures. Overall, the world has steadily warmed due to human factors since the pre-industrial period. The warming of the world has led to other changes in climate, including in rainfall patterns, storm events, and sea levels. Let's make a change. A Caribbean primer for teaching climate change. The science of climate change. Are weather and climate the same? What is weather? When we receive daily news reports from the radio or television, there is a segment for the weather, and we will find out if it may be sunny, cloudy, warm or rainy in our parish and for other parishes. The term weather refers to the day-to-day condition of the atmosphere over a specific place. Atmospheric conditions are affected by a combination of factors, such as air pressure, temperature, and humidity. The scientist who studies these atmospheric factors and makes predictions about the weather is called a meteorologist. These predictions or forecasts are usually educated guesses, based on the factors that the scientists study with the help of technological instruments. What is climate? Climate refers to the average atmospheric condition for a place or region over a long period of time, usually 20 to 30 years. This is generally reliable because it is based on data gathered and averaged over many years. Climate data includes sunshine, rainfall, air temperature, humidity, and wind. Climates around the world vary because of differences in the amount of solar radiation received in these areas. Places located closer to the equator receive more heat from the sun because the sun is directly overhead. These places are warmer than the areas closer to the north and south poles, where it is extremely cold. Therefore, the Earth is divided into climatic zones based on the amount of sunshine or heat and precipitation received in each area. Countries with similar weather patterns are in the same climatic zone. How does climate affect human activity? The variety of climates that exist influences the variety of life on planet Earth. Climatic conditions help in the formation of various ecosystems on which humans and other organisms depend. Climate influences the development of cultures. This is because our lives are influenced by our geographical climates. People everywhere have adapted in various ways to the climates in which they live. Climate influences our clothing, types of housing, agricultural practices, and vacation time. For example, Persons in countries with cold weathers may go to countries with tropical climates during winter. Climate change is taking place globally and regionally within the Caribbean. In the region, some of the evidence for climate change includes warmer temperatures, greater variability in rainfall patterns, rising sea levels, and increases in frequency of extreme weather events, such as floods and droughts. Climate change is a very present and a real threat and can cause a range of environmental, economic, and social impacts for the Caribbean region. Examples of these impacts include coastal erosion, loss of coral reefs, mangroves, and other ecosystems, saltwater intrusion into coastal agricultural lands and aquifers, escalation of frequency and intensity of hurricanes or tropical storms, increase in frequency and severity of coastal inundation and flooding, disruptions in precipitation causing droughts and availability of potable water supplies, some islands being rendered inhospitable and expensive relocation and rebuilding exercises in others.
God's children reaching out to touch you, reaching to the sky. We ask that life be kind and guide us from above. We hope it's so we'll find another soul to love. Let this be your prayer. Let this be your prayer. Just like every child needs to find a place, guide us with your grace. Give us faith so we'll be saved. Needs to find a place. Guide us with your grace. Give us faith so we'll be saved.
Let's make a change. A Caribbean primer for teaching climate change. How has climate been changing? Temperature. The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, IPCC, has reported that the Earth's temperature is rising. Global air temperatures have increased by about 1.0 degrees Celsius from the 1900s to 2019. Around the world, sea surface temperatures have shown a similar magnitude increase since pre-industrial period. Rainfall. Global rainfall trends vary widely by region and over time. There have generally been significant changes in amount, intensity, frequency, and type of precipitation. For example, rain, snow, hail, and sleet for various parts of the world. In the Caribbean, there is usually a wet season from May to November and a dry season from December to April. The wet season can be divided into early season from May to July and the late season from September to November. More than 90% of the rainfall is received during the wet season. There is much variability in rainfall patterns in the Caribbean, with some years being very dry and others being very wet. This means that when the amount of rain is considered over many years, there is no discernible overall trend. However, although there exists no clear trend in the amount of rainfall received, there are observed increases in the extreme events that may cause an increase in drought and flooding events. More droughts are being reported in the months that are usually wet. Rainfall patterns will shift with the number of consecutive dry days expected to increase. It is projected that by the mid-2020s, there will be 0 to 2% less rainfall annually. By the 2030s and 2050s, it is projected that it will be up to 4% and 10% drier respectively. The most severe projection states that Jamaica may be 21% more or less drier by 2100. Tropical storms and hurricanes. Beginning in 1995, data analysis showed a dramatic increase in the frequency and duration of hurricanes, with an almost doubling of Category 4 and 5 hurricanes. While the number of intense hurricanes has been rising, the maximum intensity of hurricanes has, however, remained fairly constant over the period. In the Caribbean, the trend is similar, with an increase in the frequency and duration of Atlantic hurricanes since 1995. There has also been an increase in the number of Category 4 and 5 hurricanes, rainfall intensity, associated peak wind intensities, and mean rainfall over the same period. Sea level rise. The rate of sea level rise increased from the mid-19th to the mid-20th century. During the 20th century, sea level rose at an average rate of 4.8 to 8.8 inches per century. Let's make a change. A Caribbean primer for teaching climate change. Climate change, mitigation, and adaptation. One final word. Living things need energy to fulfill various needs and to stay alive. The main source of energy for planet Earth is the sun. The sun provides energy in a form that plants use to make food. Other organisms then get energy from plants. The radiation from the sun warms the earth and helps us to survive. It is important to maintain an energy balance so that all organisms in ecosystems can benefit. The sun plays an important role in determining the climates of the earth. Different parts of the earth have different climates. Climates have been formed and have changed naturally over time. However, climate has been changing at a faster rate in recent times, mainly because of human activities such as burning fossil fuels, cutting down large numbers of trees, and industrial activities which release large amounts of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. Excess carbon dioxide in the atmosphere is one of the main causes of climate change. Changing climates result in conditions that affect the survival of humans and other organisms. Climate change is evident in increasing temperatures, which are projected to exceed by 2 degrees Celsius globally over the next 100 years. This will lead to climate change effects such as sea level rise, flooding, intense hurricanes, and a decrease in available clean water for domestic purposes that are critical for our health and wellness. These impacts will be greatest for the most vulnerable among us, such as those living in small island developing states like Jamaica. Can we do anything about it? Yes, we can. Energy. Reduce dependence on imported fossil fuels. Utilize more types of sustainable or renewable energy. For example, solar energy, wind energy, wave energy, and biofuels. 31% of electricity generation could come from renewables by 2030, and approximately 50% from renewables by 2037. Improve energy efficiency and conserve energy. Waste. Minimize the amount of waste produced at various stages. For example, production, distribution, consumption, and disposal. Recycle waste. Utilize waste for energy production, for example, for biofuels. Carbon dioxide removal technologies. Forestry. Conserve existing forest cover. Practice agroforestry, which is to change farming practices to deliberately grow trees alongside non-tree crops and animals on the same piece of land. Prevent and control forest fires. Education. Raise awareness about climate change. Develop awareness, skills, and actions in the support of mitigation and adaptation strategies. Let's make a change. A Caribbean primer for teaching climate change.
In Jamaica, I invite him to lead us in prayer. Amen. Thank you very much, Bishop. You know, we're all very distinguished persons in this place, and we have so many persons who will be sharing in the program today, all distinguished in their own rights. And at this time, I'm going to be inviting one of those such persons to come forward to welcome you officially to this function. I hope you're at the right place. I hear there's a Puerto Rico thing going on next door, so if it's that you they come for. It was nice seeing you. You should be next door, but if you are here for the launch of this book, you're at the right place. I invite at this time the co-director of the Climate Studies Group and the head of the Department of Physics at the University of the West Indies Mona campus, Professor Tanisha Stephenson, who has so many accolades, one of them also being a researcher in climate change and climate variability. I will welcome you at this time to issue your official welcome. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Thompson, Chair and Director of the Meteorological Service, Jamaica. The Honorable Favour Williams, MP, Minister of Youth, Education and Information, who will join us shortly. Mr. Cleon Williams, representing Mr. Matthew Samuda, Minister without portfolio in the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, Professor Dale Weber, Pro-Vice Chancellor and Principal of the University of the West Indies, Mona Campus, Dr. Donovan Stanbury, Campus Registrar, the UA Mona, Professor Michael Taylor, Dean of the Faculty of Science and Technology, the University of the West Indies, Mona Campus, and co-director of the Climate Studies Group, Mona, Professor Sylvia Coenberg, Dean of the Faculty of Humanities and Education, the UA Mona, and the Honorable Dr. Floyd Morris, Senator and Director of the Center for Disability Studies. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the launch of the Climate Change Products for Education. We acknowledge Dr. Wayne Henry, Director General, Planning Institute of Jamaica, Ms. Claire Bernard, Deputy Director General, PIOJ, Mr. Lehome Johnson, Program Manager, PIOJ, Mrs. Denise Antonio, Resident Representative, United Nations Development Program, UNDP, and UN Systems in Jamaica, Mrs. Hyacinth Douglas, National Coordinator, UNDP, Jeff Small Grants Program, and Ms. Erica Horton, Program Manager, Pilot Program for Climate Resilience. Ladies and gentlemen, please also allow me to welcome Bishop Ogarth McCoy, who prayed earlier, Mrs. Thalia Lynn, Chairman, NCB Foundation, Ms. Goff, Executive Director, Combined Disabilities Association, and representatives, as well as representatives of the Caribbean Christian Center for the Deaf, Ms. Beverly Lashley, National Librarian, and representatives of the National Library of Jamaica and the Jamaica Library Service, principals and their designates, representatives of the Climate Change Division and the Meteorological Service Jamaica, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, students here and online, welcome and thank you for joining this launch this morning.
Thank you very much, Professor Stevenson. And now we continue with our program. This time, we're going to be having a number of our collaborating partners coming and sharing their words of greetings with us. It's an awesome thing when we pull together all the partners and work together in unity in the creation of anything. And I believe that this is really something to celebrate today. Of course, there's nobody we could have done. There is nothing we could have done without any of you. Is that the best way to say that? Yes. Okay. So we needed each of you to be part of it. You might have been directly involved in the production, as well as you might just be one of the supporters. But that is also important. And so we have greetings coming from a number of sponsors and collaborators on this project. The first such is coming to us from the University of the West Indies, Mona Campus. I have the pleasure of inviting at this time Professor Dale Weber, who is the Pro-Vice Chancellor and Principal of the University of the West Indies, Mona Campus. Yeah, United to his United campuses, am I correct? Yes. I have to introduce you as well as the chair of the, no, you can stay right there, chair of the Climate Change Advisory Board. Right. I am happy to see that you are one of the collaborators here and a prime person as part of this project. So please, ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome Professor Dale Weber.
Honorable Favour Williams, who will join us shortly, Minister of Education and Youth, Ms. Denise Antonio, Resident Rep, UNDP, Mr. Cleon Williams, representing Honorable Minister Samuda, Mr. Wayne Henry and Claire Bernard, Director General and Deputy Director General from the PIOJ, Thalia Lynn from the NCB Foundation, Professor Michael Taylor, Dean of the Faculty of Science and Technology, Professor Tanisha Stevenson, Head, Department of Physics, Dr. Sharon Bramwell-Layla, Lecturer in Education, Ms. Hyacinth Douglas, National Coordination, UNDP. Dr. Dale Rankin, the project manager, Bishop Ogar McCoy. I could go on and on, but we just had that introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning to you all. It is my pleasure to bring greetings, not just on behalf of the University of the West Indies, but on behalf of the Climate Change Advisory Board of Jamaica, at this signature event, which is Let's Make a Difference, a Caribbean primer on climate change. This is important because not just have colleagues put their mind to paper, they put their mind to action. They have, from the Faculty of Humanities and Education, decided to put climate change in a new perspective. Today's event will see the introduction of products, not just one, but a number of products, which will make the difference in the lives of many individuals. Climate change is still the most critical global threat, and as a region, especially a small island developing states, we're acutely aware of the importance of climate change, adaptation, mitigation, and that we need to know more about it. Today's launch of this publication is timely. Why? Because with all that's happening in terms of sea level rise, in terms of changes in rainfall pattern, and where we've decided to build and not, it is important that we know. But do we know, and are we at the stage? Is it not then pertinent for us to reach back to the next generation? We must teach our children about climate change. It must be second nature to them. They must not learn it in a classroom only. They must learn it in every aspect of their lives. We must learn about conserving biodiversity, about endemic plants, and all that is changing within our country. Primary level students is an excellent population in which we want to engage. Looking at the book, it is clear that the modules are going to make a difference. The modules have such little gems that take away and allow students to go and self-learn. It also gives the teachers an opportunity to prepare and present. You may ask, why is it necessary? Our future depends on it. As Dr. Bramwell Layla said, young persons are more likely to have to live with long-term effects of a changing world than us who are been here a while. The products are therefore tools which will equip them and equip us with decision-making, with future impact in mind, and with present actions. We need to make changes, and we need to educate those who are going to make the changes. The University of the West Indies is therefore very proud to have colleagues who have put their mind to effort to work. Knowing them personally, I know that they are passionate about climate change, about education, and about transferring information. What better place to start than cultivating in young minds the differences and the knowledge that they will need to make the better decisions. I am waiting for someone who has read the book to become the next Minister of Environment so that we can have continued efforts in the changes that we wish. The extent of the impact of climate change is in our hands. What we do with it depends on how we educate. These products are just a few of the many ways that we can bolster our capacity to deal effectively with climate change. As Obama said, we are the first generation to really see it and the last generation that can do anything about it. We're making the changes. Thank you and good morning.
Thank you very much, Principal Weber. Mrs. Denise Antonio is the resident representative and UNDP at the UNDP Multi-Country Office in Jamaica. She has a number of years' experience in the United Nations system, and as you can see from the biography that is in your program, she has worked as an accountant, she's worked in various industries, and she is here in Jamaica with us at the UNDP Multi-Country Office. And we welcome her at this time to bring us her greetings. Please turn your attention to the screens as this will be a video greeting. I know Mrs. Antonio is always on hand, so you'll see her in just a moment, just a few seconds, and she'll be there. Okay, so we'll move on and we'll come back. Okay, great. All right, so a little delay. We did speak about the traffic this morning, so a slight delay there, but we will get back to Mrs. Antonio in just a little while. You know, every function has technical difficulties, right? So we have one of those. I want to say thanks to those persons who are doing the signing this morning on behalf of the deaf community. It's excellent that the information is being transmitted right across to all persons at this time. And now I'm going to welcome the next person who is going to bring his greeting, Dr. Wayne Henry. He is Chairman and Director General of the Planning Institute of Jamaica. He assumed duties in 2016. Seems to be a big year. That's when I assumed duties at the Met Service as the director as well. So I do welcome at this time Dr. Wayne Henry. He is Chairman of the Jamaica Social Investment Fund, Chairman of the National Social Protection Committee. He's a member of the National Disaster Risk Management Council, the National Financial Inclusion Council, and the National Foreign Trade Council. He's also a Justice of Peace and a lay pastor. And this morning he's bringing greetings on behalf of the Planning Institute of Jamaica. Please welcome Dr. Henry.
Thank you so much. Mr. Evan Thompson, moderator, the Honorable Favour Williams, Minister of Education and Youth, who will be here shortly, Professor Dale Weber, Principal, the UA Mona, Mrs. Denise Antonio, will be likely online joining us, resident representative of the UNDP Multi-Country Office in Jamaica, Professor Michael Taylor, Dean of the Faculty of Science and Technology at UA Mona, Professor Tanisha Stevenson, Head of the Department of Physics at UA Mona, Ms. Claire Bernard, Deputy Director General at the PIOJ, Bishop Ogarth McCoy, National Superintendent of the United Pentecostal Church in Jamaica, authors, today, distinguished sponsors, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. You always have to say it twice. Good morning. It's good to see the Rustons. Good morning. You know, a dentist said, ask the patient, do you floss? And the patient said, religiously, doc. Dentist said, well, what I'm seeing is not really consistent. When he said religiously, how often do you floss? He said, every Christmas and Easter. Well, let me say I'm excited to be here this morning. And let me start by congratulating the authors and all involved in this worthwhile project. Another indication that knowledge creation is alive and well in Jamaica. This marks the second book launch on the subject of climate change in which I'm participating over a four-day period since last Saturday. And so to me it counts for much that the book launched on Saturday focused on the church and climate change, while today we launch a textbook targeted at children and the primary education system. These two events reinforce the fact that here in Jamaica we are serious about increasing awareness of climate change and its impact, and are tackling this issue on many fronts. The PIOJ's involvement in the preparation of this primer comes by way of the Improving Climate Data and Information Management Project, the ICD-IMP, under the pilot program for climate resilience. The objective of the textbook aligns with that of component 3 and the Smart and Steady Climate Ready campaign of the project, which aims to improve the knowledge, attitudes, and behavioral practices of Jamaicans toward climate change. Let me use this opportunity of this launch to share the headline results of the latest Knowledge, Attitudes, and Behavioral Practice Survey, we call her KABP, conducted last year under the ICD-IMP. The results indicate that 91.6% of respondents are knowledgeable of the term climate change. Importantly, the findings highlight the need for a deeper understanding of the concept of climate change in relation to its causes and impacts. The results also point to inadequate knowledge of adaptation and mitigation measures that can and must be employed to transform Jamaica to that climate resilient economy aspired towards in Vision 2030 Jamaica. The production of this textbook at this time is responsive to a major gap identified in the KABP survey and will, we expect, complement and amplify the impact of some earlier work by the Climate Studies Group, MONA, CSGM, which the PIOJ sponsored and which involved developing teaching and learning resource material for the primary level. The book also adds to a number of climate change knowledge products published in the last decade, including the various editions of the State of Jamaican Climate Report. Its production further recognizes that realizing our resilience goal is dependent on building a solid foundation of knowledge through our children. This textbook explains some of the challenging scientific concepts in a simple, fun, and practical manner, with activities that reinforce them by utilizing real-life, local, regional, and international examples. We expect that this textbook will be a useful resource for children in and outside Jamaica. The PIOJ is pleased to be a part of this activity and wholeheartedly congratulates the writers, the School of Education, CSGM, and UNDP GEF Small Grants Program for the vision and drive to implement this project. Partners, let us continue to work together and make a difference as we continue to strive to make Jamaica the place of choice to live, work, raise families, and do business. Thank you very much. God bless you all.
Thank you very much, Director General, Dr. Henry. I believe it's now time for us to view the presentation from Mrs. Antonio. So please, once again, turn your attention to the screens.
Honorable Fable Williams, Minister of Education and Youth, Professor Dale Weber, Principal, the University of West Indies, MONA, Ms. Claire Bernard, Deputy Director General, the Planning Institute of Jamaica, representatives of the media, other distinguished attendees on location and watching via live stream. Good morning. I am extremely happy to join you this morning to formally launch this important textbook entitled Let's Make a Difference, a Caribbean Primer on Climate Change that simplifies for young people crucial issues related to climate change adaptation in the Caribbean. The United Nations Development Program, through its Jeff Small Grants Program, joins in celebrating this initiative, made possible with the contribution of a $93,000 US grant under the Resilience Strengthening to Climate Change Impacts through Youth Education in Primary Schools project. I am pleased that this activity directly supports the Government of Jamaica's initiative dubbed Renewed Jamaica, geared at climate action in homes, schools, churches, and communities, and that sustainability is ensured by integrating the text into school curriculum. This book is an excellent example of how to better understand the science of living things, the science of climate change in the Caribbean, implications for possible future changes in climate, and the urgent need for us to make a difference. How can environmental education help to combat and strengthen the global fight against climate change? It helps young people to understand the consequences of global warming, encourages them to change their behavior, and helps them to adapt to this climate emergency through innovative, youth-friendly initiatives. The evidence from a UNEP survey taken in 2011 is clear. 84% of young people surveyed agreed that they need more information to prevent climate change, while earlier studies from a Globe Scan survey indicated that 89% of youth polled globally say young people can make a difference on climate change. By 2015, close to 500,000 youth around the world had taken action on climate change through joint SGP UNDP projects. UNDP is convinced that by educating children and young people, we can nurture a new generation of change agents capable of encouraging their peers to adopt positive behaviors that combat the varying impacts of climate change. Through environmental literacy, we can cultivate a culture of care for the planet. I wish to acknowledge Professor Michael Taylor and his team for the excellent work that led to the production of this important new knowledge product. I am grateful to all who contributed, whether as writers, editors, or publisher, and for keeping this important issue of climate change on the agenda. You have our word that UNDP and Jeff SGP will continue to be responsive to the vision of adapting to the impact of climate change and to ensure that young people are suitably integrated and empowered to lead this movement in the future. Our commitment is anchored on UNDP's corporate mission to help countries end the injustice of poverty, inequality, and climate change, and to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. Projects designed to secure SDG 13 climate action are of particular importance at this time. Together, we can produce a stronger and more honest form of partnership and nation building to make this goal a reality in our lifetime. Thank you.
She is the chair of the NCB Foundation, director of Mustard Seed Communities, St. Patrick's Foundation, United Way, RC Archbishops Advisory Council, that's the Roman Catholic Archbishops, and the director of Respect Jamaica and co-patron of the CB group UWI 5K. And she is one of those who are also supporting and sponsoring the work of this launch. So let me at this time welcome the representative for Mrs. Talia Lynn.
Yes, unfortunately, no, this is not Miss Talia Lynn. Thank you, Mr. Thompson, to all partners, stakeholders, collaborators, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It is my pleasure to bring greetings on behalf of NCB Foundation and our chair, Ms. Talia Lynn, who could not be here today because we have concurrent events, but of course, we had to be here somehow to be a part of this launch. So as a foundation, with our mandate being focused on enabling each Jamaican access to educational materials that will advance our development as a nation, we found this project to be invaluable from conception and are proud to be here at the official launch. As adopters of 43 schools as a part of our Stuart Reed Adopter School program, which Mr. Shea DeLeon is here, Constant Spring Primary is also part of our schools. We look forward to seeing these textbooks in the libraries and hands of our children. Congratulations to UWI on this milestone, and we look forward to future partnerships that will continue to positively impact the lives of Jamaicans and the diaspora in extension. Thank you.
And thank you very much as well. I look forward to the days when I don't have to be taking off and putting on masks. And I don't have to have my own mic. I can share mic with everybody else. I mean, those were good days, weren't they? Wow, I'm looking forward to those days coming back. And we can all greet each other in the right way. I mean, I saw coming in earlier my former director in the Meteorological Service. She is here, Mrs. Sylvia McGill, retired director. Thank you. It's so wonderful to see her, looking the same as she did how many years ago when I saw her first, you know? Yeah, she also went ahead of me on television as a presenter of the weather. You remember Sylvia Mullings from them days? Nobody remember? It's only me that old? I'm the only person who remember. Oh yes, we see another hand in the middle. Yes. And I think that was one of the main reasons why I joined the Meteorological Service. I mean, we won't go there. We won't go there. You know, I have to tell you another little story, because yesterday, as I was traveling home, I was driving home, and on one of those main thoroughfares that I was driving on, I saw a lady, a young lady actually, who was pushing a cart. This cart was covered by a huge plastic bag, and she was drinking from a cup. She was right outside a bar, actually. I don't know if it was water or what she was having, but she had a cup, and she was drinking from this plastic cup. And then she finished, and I see her shake it out, and then she just threw the cup on the floor, on the ground, and turned around and then unveiled her cart. And when I looked at what was in the cart, she was selling brooms and all these various implements to help to clear garbage. That's what she was doing. But there was somehow a disconnect. Here I am throwing a plastic container on the ground and then now proposing that, well, maybe that's a way to keep her business alive, eh? I don't know, but we need to see the connection with our actions and how we address things going forward. We're talking about making a change here. And your presence here, making a difference. Your presence here makes a difference. But when you see a young person outside, will you also say to that person, this is what needs to be done, and this is how we need to operate, you know, going forward. So we all need to see ourselves as part of the solution to the problem that we see that is already upon us, because climate change is not an upcoming event. It is something that we're experiencing, and life will not get better under climate change. So we have to do what we can to make life better, make a difference, a positive difference. I'm only chatting so much because we're ahead of schedule. It's not really that I like to talk plenty, but I do like to talk plenty. So we're going to move on at this time. I think we're closer to the 10 o'clock now, because that's when our next speaker is supposed to be coming. And we're going to be talking this time, or hearing, about why these products. Why do we need things like these? Why will we waste our time and go through so much energy and heartache and distress to research and pull things together and put them in this format and get them published and go into these places and spend some money to launch it? And why do we do these things? So why these products? And this morning we have with us Professor Michael Taylor. He's Professor of Climate Science and Dean of the Faculty of Science and Technology at the University of the West Indies. When I was there, it was called something else, not Science and Technology, but we won't go there either. He is the co-director of the Climate Studies Group, MONA. He's well published and is cited for his scientific work on the impact of climate change on the small islands of the Caribbean region. I don't have to tell you all these things. There are so many accolades that we would attribute to Professor Michael Taylor, and most of us are already familiar with this gentleman who has done so much already for Jamaica and for the University of the West Indies, MONA, that I think the principal should just multiply your salary by so many times, but we won't go there either. But ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome Professor Michael Taylor. You owe me, Michael, you owe me.
I'm sorry you didn't continue going there so that the principal... I'm going to ask the team to help me with a quick presentation, so I would appreciate it. But colleagues, distinguished persons here present, allow me to just adopt all the protocols that have been said before, and just thank you very much for coming to this launch today. My task here is to set a little bit of a context and to talk about why these products, including what are these products that we are talking about. And so, because they are education products, I want you to come to school with me. So, I need to set a quick context, and I'm going to use one slide to sum up the climate challenge for our country. Summing up the climate challenge for our country, because that's the context for these products. So, say after me, seasonality plus size or sector equals sensitivity. No, if you're in my class, that would never do. So, just one more time. Seasonality plus size or sector equals sensitivity. The truth is, as a country, we know the seasonality of climate. We know when it's hottest in July or August, and we know when we should get rain. We have 2 rainy seasons, one peaking in June and one in September, October. And what we end up doing is patterning our lives around this. So we plant around this, and we clean drains around this, and we send kids to school around this, and we have sports around this. That then makes climate a part of our everyday life. Add to that we are a small island, and our size says whether you want to live on the narrow coastal plains or the steep hill interior, you cannot escape climate, because when climate comes down, you are in the path of the climate coming down. Add to that the sectors we make development out of, agriculture, tourism, all have this great sensitivity to climate. And even if they didn't, our water sector does. Put that together, and we have this immense sensitivity to climate. Climate is a part of who we are. Okay, now say after me, sensitivity plus variability equals vulnerability. You are such a great class. The truth is, if we have this immense climate sensitivity, then when the climate starts to change, all of life changes. And what climate change is doing is taking our inherent sensitivity to climate and changing it into a vulnerability. That's the Port Maria North Coast rains that we had a few weeks ago, exposing the vulnerability of our daily lives to climate. However, knowing the vulnerability is not sufficient. So finally, say with me, vulnerability plus action equals resilience. All right, you have to say that one a little more, this is where we are building resilience. Vulnerability plus action equals resilience. The truth is, knowing our vulnerabilities, we don't sit down and do nothing. Once we incorporate action, that's the pathway to resilience due to climate. So, what am I trying to say? The challenge of climate is to move us from a sensitivity to resilience. That's the task we all have in front of us. But we know exactly how to do that. It's through action. That then leads us to our products. What are these products? These products are nothing more than tangible action items that help to move us from sensitivity to resilience. But the truth is, when we are going to act, we have to act in particular ways. One, our action has to be appropriate. What do I mean? We need climate action that is appropriate for our situation, or the situation it is being called to serve. So we don't just need any action, but we need action that meets a need. Another way of saying that, we need appropriate or targeted action. What does this at all have to do with the products that we are launching? Well, one set of the products that we are launching are the products for the disabled community, thanks to our partners through the U.S. Center for Disability Studies and other partners. You have heard from Dr. Henry about the State of the Jamaica Climate Report, and that's a signature report that the PIOJ commissioned the university to do under the project he mentioned. What are we launching with this report? We are launching the Braille edition. The disabled community is one of the most vulnerable communities to climate, and yet the information we produce was not necessarily being produced for them. Under this project, we are launching the State of the Climate, the Braille edition. We're also launching the Caribbean Science Volume 1, the Braille version, making information targeted and available to those who need it in the format that they need it. But we're also launching the State of the Caribbean Climate, the audio and visual versions. So we're taking the information and we're putting it out there. And these are specially formatted, as you can see from the diagrams, for the disabled community. So the audio versions and the video versions are all complete with sign language. They're available on the YouTube and available on thumb drives for distribution. Why these products? Because they are meeting the characteristic of appropriate action, action that meets the need, our need. But why these products? It's not only appropriate action that we need, we also need creative action. What do I mean? The truth is, climate change is challenging our notions of what normal is. You can't tell me that you know what a normal rainy season is anymore. And so we can't approach climate change in a business as usual way. What we need is action that is creative and well suited for our context. Yes, we are launching a number of products, but with these products, we are launching what we call the immersive climate learning model. What on earth do I mean? Under this project, we had 6 primary school partners who were brave enough to say, we will work with you to pilot these products. I think we have representatives here, and I hope you don't mind if when I call them, they wave their hand. Randolph Lopez School of Hope. Please give a round of applause. Constant Spring Primary and Junior High. Great. Harborview Primary. Franklin Town Primary. Yes. St. Peter Clavel Primary on that side, and Mount Airy Primary over that side. Give them all a round of applause, please. The truth is, if we are going to make climate really real, we have to take it out of the classrooms, the brick and glass window classrooms, and take climate into an immersive learning experience. Under this project, all of these schools have received most or all of the following: an eco-friendly gazebo and or portable tent with outdoor seating powered by a fixed or portable solar energy-based solution. So where the terrain was suitable for a portable solution so that you can take the learning outside, that was provided. In other contexts, it was a fixed solution with a fixed solar panel. And I want to draw your attention to that little suitcase-looking device there. It's a portable renewable energy solution powered by solar panels, which you can carry where you go, carry with you to the lesson. Plug in your laptop or your phone or whatever device you want to use to teach. They also received starter gardens with endemic plants and trees. And the plants chosen for each school were dependent on the particular climate. And a manual describing the endemic plants and, of course, how to care for them. And 2 of the schools have also received automatic weather stations. They therefore joined Jamaica in its quest to develop resilience through capturing information. So thanks to the Meteorological Service of Jamaica, they form part of their network. And also thanks to a collaboration with the University of the West Indies, each school will eventually get an app where as they teach the lesson, they can show what the weather is outside their location. We need solutions for climate that go outside the box and that are creative. Very quickly, we also need solutions that are transformative. The truth is, climate change action must ultimately engender change for the better if it is to be sustainable. If it is to do so, it has to have a transformative element. Where best to target transformation than by targeting education of children? And so today, you have heard a lot about it. We launched the Climate Change Teaching Resources. We launched the textbook, Let's Make a Difference, a climate primer for climate change. And this textbook is for primary schools, and believe it or not, it's one of its first of its kind, written out of the Jamaican context for Jamaican children. We close the loop. It's based on the State of the Jamaica Climate Report, so it pulls on the latest data from Jamaica. As you have heard, it has interactive lessons, plans, and activities, and it's available in both e-version and hard copy. So we not only produce the material that will last, but we also train the teachers. For each of our schools, we are going in and doing training, but we're also developing the training video so that any school, anywhere in Jamaica, can use the facilities. And then, not just the textbook, but we're beginning the production of supportive things. So we already have produced 4 4-minute animations based on 4 chapters from the textbook. You were watching them when you came into the room this morning. So the kids can relate to the subject material through the animation. Why these products? Because we need action that's transformative, and education is a route to transformation. Lastly, why these products? Because these products, the sum total of what I have shown you, demonstrate the way or show the way for how we must tackle climate in Jamaica. The truth is, climate change requires a collaborative approach. No single entity will be able to tackle climate change because of where we began. That sensitivity pervades all of life. And so climate change impacts are so cross-cutting, we need everybody on board. So why these products? Because they represent the collaborative model. How did these products come about? Because it was the major funding agencies listed at the top. It was the partnership with government, the PIOJ, the Ministry of Education, the Met Service of Jamaica. It was the private sector, the NCB Foundation, Incrementic, Miramorai, and I see Mr. Kelly over there, just raise your hand, who produced the interactive animated videos to support the book. Raise your hand again. It's Redis Jamaica who provided the innovative solar solutions. And then let me just give a last plug for the University of the West Indies. You do not need to go outside for your capacity. Principal, am I doing well? The University of the West Indies has the ability to pull together the interdisciplinary teams that you need to attack the problems. This project has the collaboration of, yes, the Climate Studies Group, Mona, but the School of Education, you will meet the author, one of the principal authors soon. The Department of Life Sciences that provided the plans and the manuals and went into the schools and decided what plant needs to go where. And the Center for Disability Studies that provided the knowledge about how to approach climate information for the disabled community. Why these products? Because they demonstrate the collaborative model, which is how we will have to tackle climate change in Jamaica. So I end. Why these products? Simple, because they move us from sensitivity to resilience via action. What kind of action? They represent action that's appropriate, creative, transformative, and action that shows the way. Or simply put, action that acts. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Taylor. Wow, what a presentation, and it tells us about how much work has been put into this. and how much has been achieved. I don't know. Have they thought about everything? There's every way of reaching the people. Anybody want to suggest anything else that they need to give a thought to? What they should do next? A little money might leave in the Jeff Small Grants program, you know. We could do another project on it. Yes, okay, wonderful. We have to clap UNDP and Jeff Small Grants program for that, for all that kind of support that they've been giving. Say that again. Oh, I like that. She says one of the components will be cloning Professor Taylor. We need him in perpetuity to continue these kinds of acts. I thought of one thing, an audio version in the vernacular. What do you think? We could have worked on that too. Yes. And if you can think of anything else, maybe a musical version, right, Dennis and Carolisa? A musical version in song and dance. And I mean, we have animation already. And what else, you know? A killing time again, you know, just putting in a little bit. Yes, but I know you don't mind it. I mean, it's been a nice morning so far. Ladies and gentlemen, I was starting to think that I would need to present the keynote address. So I was preparing myself. But guess what? The minister has arrived. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome, or put your hands together just to welcome the Honorable Favour Williams, the minister. Don't come yet, minister. We're giving you one more second to breathe and to finish that conversation. But minister is here, Minister Favour Williams. She's the Minister of Education and Youth. I think the information part got shifted to OPM, right? So she is very much here. And let me just tell you a little bit while she just catches her breath, because she just came in. The Honorable Favour Williams is really a chartered financial analyst. I mean, she could quite likely take over Dr. Henry's job at the PIOJ, or she could even be the Minister of Finance for Jamaica. But she is in education. She has an MBA with concentration in finance, and she also has a BA in economics. She is a former executive director of Kingston Properties Limited, and she has served as, and has been serving as the Member of Parliament for St. Andrew Eastern. So if any of you are from that area, that's your MP, you should have known that from before. And this has been since March 2016. She has also been Minister of Education for a good little while now, so she's getting very seasoned in this thing. She's the Minister of Education since 2016, am I right? No. Say that again, please. So since 2020, okay. It's like you've been there for so many more years than that. Just 2 years. Wow, education. But ladies and gentlemen, now is the time that we welcome to the podium to bring our keynote address, the Honorable Favour Williams, Minister of Education and Youth.
Thank you so much, Mr. Moderator. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Happy Tuesday. Are you sure? Let me begin by acknowledging Professor Dale Weber, fearless principal of the UWI Mona, Mrs. Denise Antonio, resident representative, UNDP Multi-Country Office in Jamaica, Dr. Wayne Henry, Director General, the PIOJ, Ms. Thalia Lynn, Chairman, NCB Foundation, Professor Michael Taylor, Director, Climate Studies Group, MONA, and Dean, Faculty of Science and Technology, the UWI Mona, representatives of the School of Education, the Planning Institute of Jamaica, the National Commercial Bank, distinguished ladies and gentlemen all, good morning again. It is a pleasure to be here with you for today's official launch of the suite of knowledge products on climate change developed by the University of the West Indies, our premier university of the Caribbean. As you know, global concern about climate change and the impact on local territories have grown over the past few decades, And as more people see the obvious changes around them and how this is affecting them in many different ways. Multiple reports in the mainstream media, online, and through specially targeted public education campaigns have raised awareness about the problem. We recognize, however, that it is only through education that we can understand climate change in depth and begin to act in a way that has positive changes on our environment. Now, while there is more familiarization with and use of the vocabulary about global warming, greenhouse gases, renewable energy, carbon footprint, deforestation, recycling, green jobs, sustainable food, etc., etc., policymakers and educators are also increasingly stressing the importance of educating children on environmental matters and developing a culture of caring for the climate. And let me pause to acknowledge all our principals who are here, students, I don't know, parents who are here this morning. Good morning, principals. Equally important is to equip them with the values, knowledge, and skills to become responsible stewards of our environment. There are many more things that contribute to climate change, and that's why it is very important to teach our current and future generation about climate change in simple language and a style that they can understand and appreciate. And so when Professor Taylor talked about the book that's being launched and the animation to go with it, the fact that it's done by UWI Mona, our very own, and it is describing the climate that exists in Jamaica, I know that that will be more understandable to our children, and they will come to it in a different way. We know that it can be hard teaching them in a way that is interesting and provides all the facts without frightening them. And so what you're doing here today, the launch of the book and the animation and so on, I know, is to help them break it down and understand what these very big words mean. And in time, I know that you will see them adopt and begin to carry out the changes that we'd like them to carry out. Educating children about climate change will also provide them with a sense of social responsibility, while also encouraging environmentally responsible behavior. And I know many of you probably have children who, during the days of back, face-to-face, when we were really pre-pandemic days, who were excited about going to do beach cleanups and participate in that way. So they understand the activities and they want to participate, and we have to continue to encourage them. Within that context, I'm especially delighted that among the products being launched today is the first of its kind text for primary and secondary teachers and students entitled Let's Make a Difference, a Caribbean primer or primer, depending on how you want to pronounce it, on climate change. This is an important addition to the material available for our teachers and students on the subject. Throughout the region, many of our children have been exposed to the effects of the changing climate, from beach erosion to disappearing hillsides, more frequent floodings, higher temperatures, damaged coral reefs, and no doubt they would have heard adults talking about reduced fish catch when compared to years ago. This primer helps them to move from awareness to taking practical, individual, and collective steps that will reduce the effects of the problem. Even as we make good use of this book, we must continue to keep our sights on the longer-term challenge of climate change and environmental sustainability. We don't just want to avoid depriving future generations of the resources due to them. In every generation, we want to leave behind a better and cleaner environment than what currently exists. And so in closing, I'd like to express I think I skipped a page, sorry, I'll go back. I'm good, thank you. So I want to express my appreciation to the UWI School of Education, the Global Environmental Facilities Small Grants Program, the Planning Institute of Jamaica, and the National Commercial Bank for the collaboration on this project. And I know that it's going to be sustained in our schools because you've included the very important component of teacher training in this. And I know that our teachers, they are collaborative. They get together in their quality education circles. They get together in their various groups, and they're going to share what they're doing in their classrooms, in their schools, among our teachers. And I am sure next year when you come back, Professor Taylor, there will be maybe hundreds of projects in our schools with a focus on climate change. And that is what we want to see. That tells us, that will tell us that our students are learning, they're understanding, but more important, they want to be a part of this change. They want to contribute. So thank you again. You have helped to develop the kind of accessible knowledge products that will add to our eventual goal of leaving behind a more sustainable Caribbean for future generations. Not only will we not deprive them of their share of the resources, we will be leaving them with even more than what we have inherited from our forefathers. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister Williams, the Honorable Favour Williams, for your presentation and the support that you are clearly indicating that you will give from the Ministry of Education as you receive these products that we will launch this morning. Ladies and gentlemen, we're moving on with our program, and it has been going just so well so far. We're now up to the point where we have the launch of the textbook. This is a great day. I heard Minister start by saying Happy Tuesday, and I thought to myself, it's today, but it's also Tuesday, and it's also Tuesday with the 22nd of the 2nd, 22. So we have all twos and twos and twos, and although it's confusing. So it's a day that we're not going to forget. We have this launch, but we have to record this as a day that we will never forget because it's the clash of the twos. So we move on with our launch of the textbook, a Caribbean primer on climate change. We invite at this time Dr. Sharon Bramwell-Layla to press forward. She's lecturer in the School of Education. I knew Sharon from her former life, and she's here in her current life. She's a lecturer at the University of the West Indies Mona campus and coordinator of the Undergraduate Science Unit and the Master of Arts in Teaching program within the School of Education. She is so qualified to be part of this, and of course, education is at the center of what she does, and so this just fits perfectly in place for her to come and be a part of this program. Sharon Bramwell-Layla, please come forward. It's your turn.
Mr. Evan Thompson, moderator. Honorable Favour Williams, Minister of Education and Youth. Professor Dale Weber, Pro-Vice Chancellor and Principal of the Mona campus of the UWI. Special invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Never heard of it. I don't know. It is perfume, umbrella. Me no know that one. Me confused. These were responses received from some children aged 3 to 6 years old, the target group of this textbook, when asked some probing questions. No, the question was not, what is the Renaissance? Or what is a floppy disk? Or a Walkman? Or even who is Professor Michael Taylor? No, rather the questions were, what is climate change? Have you ever heard of climate change? So, if there is anyone here today who is still not convinced, you have lingering doubts still about whether we need a book like this, even after the convincing presentation by Professor Taylor, I hope these responses from these children will remove those traces of doubt. Because as you have heard, children are amongst those who will be most vulnerable to climate change impacts in the future. And so it was a no-brainer when the Climate Studies Group, Mona Campus, approached the School of Education about creating this knowledge product, a textbook. We did not hesitate in responding. So let's make a difference. A carbon primer on climate change was born. It is the outcome of many months of researching. You hear, we have included the latest data, writing, reviewing, editing, by a group of dedicated climate scientists, science and environmental educators, and an education for sustainable development specialist. This collaboration models the interdisciplinary approach recommended for dealing with complex issues such as climate change. This partnership between the two faculties, as well as our external collaborators, is in line with the UA's alignment mandate of addressing critical issues within our region and the wider world. So you have been hearing a little bit about the book all morning. I will tell you a little bit more. We began the process by reviewing the Jamaican National Standards curriculum for grades 4 to 6. Because we wanted to ensure that the text could align with the curriculum and supplement the content. Now, I know that science is near and dear to the hearts of many of us gathered here today. However, its concepts, although we love it dearly, are often difficult to grasp and understand, particularly by children. And so we had to find a balance of how to present hard facts of science in a manner that sparks interest and curiosity of the students across the range of the grades that we were looking at. And at the same time, we wanted the book to be usable by our teachers. Additionally, because climate change education calls for a multi or an interdisciplinary approach, we tried to link the content among the different subject areas outside of science and social studies. And so, the first of the 5 units, we started pretty basic. We drew the readers into basic science concepts, living things, things around you. And we did that in a style that allows for the children to make connections while they're reading with the world around them. And then we dive into the science of climate change. We couldn't skirt around it. We had to deal with it. So we started with a discussion on weather and climate. We introduced a range of climate-related phenomena such as drought and storms and hurricanes. And we also clarify concepts such as global warming, greenhouse effect. If you agree with me, these are confusing concepts even for us adults. In units 3 and 4, we locate climate change within our region by describing historical trends to show how variables such as temperature, rainfall, hurricanes, and sea levels have changed, and paint a vivid picture of possible future impacts on things like water resources, agriculture, human settlements, infrastructure, tourism, and health if these changes continue at the same rate. The book ends in Unit 5 with numerous suggestions on strategies required to make good decisions to lessen climate change impacts at various levels across various sectors, and also focuses on individual level actions to enhance students' agency. In teaching about climate change, the literature suggests moving away from the traditional lecture method, which most of us in here have been used to using strategies that create conditions for children to think about relationships that they encounter in everyday life. This requires an interdisciplinary and multidisciplinary approach and a focus on active learning. Therefore, we included various features in the text for students to engage with, making it interesting and fun and interactive. Some of these features include, did you know, where facts in relation to different factors of climate change are presented, notes carefully, which highlights points that they need to pay attention to, can I help, where we promote individual action and collective action, career link, and a range of activities, both individual and group, that take multiple forms from research, crossword puzzles, viewing videos, listening to songs, and more. Don't you just wish you had a book like this when you were going to primary school? And to make the multi and interdisciplinary focus clear, some of the activities have specific subject links. So for example, on page 7, there is a link to the language arts. On pages 23 and 45, there's a link to social studies. On pages 18 and 38, a link to mathematics. And you know we have to work hard on that area. So math and climate change coming together, nice. Pages 18 and 51, a link to art. This primer is our book. It was written by Caribbean individuals for Caribbean classrooms, using Caribbean examples to explain climate change as it applies to our context. It is my pleasure on behalf of my co-writers, Therese Ferguson, Miguel Eisen, the Climate Studies Group Mona, the artist, graphic designer, the retired educator, and the media consultant who provided editorial inputs to present this book to you. Let us treasure it and use it fully and wisely. And if we do, who knows? Perhaps the next time we meet Terishane, Jaden, and Jadawi, they will have more accurate responses when they're asked, what is climate change? Have you ever heard of it? Ladies and gentlemen, let us make a difference. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sharon Bramwell-Laylor. This is so exciting. I don't know if you want to dive into that text as I am looking forward to. I would love to see what's in there and really get a grasp of it. I'm really looking forward. And we're going to have the presentation of books and products to schools, libraries, donors, and other stakeholders. That's going to be led, first of all, by Ms. Hyacinth Douglas, the National Coordinator of the UNDP Jeff Small Grants Program. She is here with us, and then right afterwards, we're going to have some other presentations. Those will be conducted by Ms. Claire Bernard, Deputy Director at the PIOJ. So let me invite, at this time, Hyacinth Douglas to come forward. Really exciting stuff. And apparently I was talking about music and dance, and it seems like even that has been taken care of. We're going to have some music in there as well. So, okay, 1 second. Okay. Some musical accompaniment there, but we're going to be calling the names of those persons who will actually be receiving in this presentation. I'll just step to one side. I believe the presentation will be done to your right. Okay, so let me invite the first 3 persons to come forward to receive your products from Hyacinth Douglas. From the National Library Service, Ms. Beverly Lashley, CEO. I invite you to come forward as you receive your text. Thank you. And now we have from the Jamaica Library Service, Ms. Patsy Gordon. She's Director of the School Library Network. Please come forward, Ms. Gordon. She'll receive from Hyacinth Douglas. Applause, please, as she receives her text. Thank you. And the third, I invite now representative from the UWI Library, Ms. Karen Terrell. Yes, from the UWI Library. Yes, Ms. Karen Terrell receiving from Hyacinth Douglas. Thank you, Ms. Douglas. Thank you very much. Let me now invite Ms. Claire Bernard, Deputy Director General at the Planning Institute of Jamaica. She will make the next 2 presentations. The first of those will be to Ms. Gloria Goff from the disabled community. Gloria Goff. Okay, Ms. Goff is receiving her copy of the text from Ms. Claire Bernard. Wonderful, getting those snapshots. Great. And now we're going to invite school principal from Mount Airy, Mrs. Madeline Edwards-Burke. Mrs. Edwards-Burke, please come and receive on behalf of the school community. Mount Airy, no way across in the west. Clarendon? Okay, my geography not so good apparently, eh? So Mrs. Madeline Edwards-Burke is receiving from Ms. Claire Bernard her copy of the primer. Thank you so much. Excellent. Oh, I think I've left my... Okay, and now we're going to have responses from our grantees. It has been a wonderful morning, and we have heard a lot of all these products. We have seen the presentations. We have heard the keynote address from the most honorable minister, and now we're going to be hearing a response from grantees. Let me invite at this time the principal of the Constant Spring Primary and Junior High School, Mr. Shea Dillon, to come and respond on behalf of the recipients.
All right. Good morning, everyone. All right, so please permit me to adopt the protocols that has already been established. Climate change refers to long-term shifts in temperatures and weather patterns. Nearly all land areas are seeing more hot days and heat waves. 2020 was considered one of the hottest years. Sir, am I correct? This data? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So higher temperatures increase. Heat-related difficulties make the movement of individuals more difficult. And of course, MonaMedia project entitled Resilience, Strengthening to Global Climate Change through Youth Education in Primary Schools focused on strengthening resilience to climate change impacts in primary schools through youth education is indeed an awesome initiative. The knowledge products born out of this project was developed in response to the need to create ways to educate about climate change, with special emphasis on developing educational tools for our children to include climate change textbook, reading gardens established in 7 primary schools, climate change animation series, climate change YouTube channel, of course, based on state and Caribbean climate report, and formatted and audiovisual content specifically formatted for the disabled community. We are honored as principals to be involved in this initiative, and we're elated and thankful and grateful for this opportunity to impact lives. Our schools have benefited tremendously in more ways than one. The Smart Weather Station, established at the Richmond Park Primary School, will provide students with the opportunity to get first-hand information about weather. Of course, students will be more enthused about learning as they will get the opportunity to apply the required knowledge needed from the curriculum, of course, to their everyday lives. We are very excited about the fancy gazebos that were erected on our campuses. Of course, they are decorated with solar panels and well furnished with concrete benches and stepping stones. This adds value to our aesthetics, and our teachers and students now have a comfortable area outside to offer wonderful outdoor activities to discuss and focus on strengthening resilience to climate change, among other things. We're also grateful for the portable charging stations and the tents received. Of course, the other day we had Careers Day at my school, and a part of the program would include, from the guidance department, their budget allocation to include a tent. And I was very proud to say to my guidance counselor, of course, we have a tent. And so we didn't have to rent, and so on. We're really happy that we're benefiting from this project tremendously. We're grateful, of course, and we are now in a position to, provide for our students holistically, offer outdoor opportunities and so on. I spoke to the principal of Franklin Town, Mr. Trelevan, and of course he also indicated that the tents received are being used to provide comfort for the students, teachers, as they do their temperature checks in the mornings and so on. Principal Reynolds also spoke about the renewable station that will be used for a sports day. Our schools are now poised and rearing to go, as together we will continue to educate our teachers, students, the communities, strengthening resilience to climate change. Indeed, the climate change textbook, Let's Make a Difference, will be a very useful tool, a knowledge management tool for primary level education, both in Jamaica and the wider Caribbean. This wonderful resource includes trends, elaborate projections of the future climate, and provide customized key messages for our students. It makes the use of graphics, hands-on exercises and activities that are aligned with key areas of the curriculum and related subject area. And of course, it's the first in its kind. So, we are extremely excited and elated about where we are going as a country and the change that this project will make in the lives of our youngsters. Our students stand to benefit. Our communities stand to benefit. Jamaica, of course, will be a better place. And so on behalf of the 7 primary school principals represented here, once more a big thank you for allowing us to be a part of this initiative. We will ensure that we do our best to educate our youngsters regarding climate change. God bless you. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you also, Mr. Dillon. Very well said, as you represent all the recipients of these products. We want to thank you so much for representing them. And I can imagine the change that is going to be made because of its involvement, or it being rolled out in our schools and everyone being able to see and benefit from the rich information. And I'm sure this will also be updated on a regular basis as we update the climate of Jamaica and all that is a part of that. Okay, that was just a slight break in transmission, but we're right back on track. We do want to pause just for a moment. We want to take a few shots. Let me make that very clear. When I say shots, I'm talking about photographs here. We're going to take a few photographs at the front here before we actually have the vote of thanks. And why do we say vote of that? We're not voting. But anyway, the vote of thanks, that's going to be done right afterwards. So I'm going to invite the minister once again to come forward. We're going to be taking a couple of photographs at the front first before we go toward the pronouncement of the thanks. So, music. Rushton in D minor.
I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and you.
Let's make a change.
And
a Caribbean primer for teaching climate change.
What a wonderful world. Ooh. I see trees of green, clouds of white, bright blessed days and dark sacred nights. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are also on the faces of people going by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. I hear babies cry. I watch them grow. They'll know much more than I'll ever know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are also on the faces of people going by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. I hear babies cry, I watch them grow. They'll know much more than I'll ever know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Ooh, I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Thank you. Must have been cold there in my shadow to never have sunlight on your face. You were content to let me shine. You always walked a step behind. I was the one with all the glory. You were the one with all the strength. A beautiful face without a name. A beautiful smile to hide the pain. Did you ever know that you're my hero? In everything I would like to be, I could fly higher than an eagle, with you as the wind beneath my wings. Must have prepared to go unnoticed, but I had it all here in my heart. I want you to know I know the truth, yes I do. And I would be nothing without you. Did you ever know that you're my hero? And everything I would like to be, I could fly higher than an eagle, with you as the wind beneath my wings. Did you ever know that you're my hero? You're everything, everything I would like to be. I could fly higher than an eagle, with you as the wind beneath my wings, with you as the wind beneath my wings. Love has played its games on me so long. I started to believe I'd never find anyone. Doubt has tried to convince me to give in. Said we can win. Then one day a ray of sun came shining through. The rain has stopped and the skies were blue. And oh, what a revelation to see someone like you say I love you to me. Oh, one in a billion chance of a lifetime. Life showed compassion and said to me a stroke of love called you. Oh, one in a billion you. Oh, one in a billion you.
Excellent music coming from Dennis and Carolisa Rushton. Put your hands together. I'm sure you were enjoying that wonderful music. Ah, a one in a million you. It had all of us rocking and a few of us singing. Yes, we're coming to the close of this morning's activities. We're at the point of the vote of thanks. I'm going to be inviting at this time Dr. Dale Rankin. He's project manager at the Climate Studies Group, MONA. And there are so many other things that I could say. He's been doing this project management thing for a while. He has managed several projects for the university, and also the Jeff Small Grants program is one of the core projects currently being managed. It wasn't said here, but Dale Rankin is also a past member of staff of the Meteorological Service, and I think you should put your hands together for that. Yeah, that sounded very half-hearted. Yeah, man, he worked with the Met Office. Come on. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We're moving now to the vote of thanks. Dr. Rankin, please come forward.
Thank you. Morning, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, Lord. Morning, everybody else. All right. Well, I am first of all delighted to be here. And let me first of all thank Evan for a job well done. Thank you very much, Mr. Thompson, former boss. Honorable Minister, Ms. Denise Antonio, Mr. Dr. Wayne Henry, other distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I'm very happy to see our principal here as well, Principal Weber. Thank you, sir. Our registrar is also here, Dr. Donovan Stanbury, sir. Thanks very much for gracing us with your presence. I'm not going to go through the whole list of protocols because I have to thank everybody, and I'll do it twice. And since I'm the number 11 batsman sent before the declaration of the innings, you really go to swipe hard, get as many runs as you can without boring the people to death. So let me do my job. I want everybody to, first of all, look in your bag to see if you find a thumb drive, right? Very, very important. All right, you find a thumb drive. All right, if you find a thumb drive, you have a copy of the book, all right? So that's the first thing, all right? So everybody has a copy of the book already, all right? I want to say that there are 3 versions of the book. We have the one that is on the thumb drive, which is called an e-book. We have a web version, all right, which we've also produced, and of course there's a manual version as well, all right? So we have covered the full spectrum. Just to say that what we presented this morning was just 5 symbolic copies, but we are in process of printing over 200 copies. And we are soliciting support, for those of you that are watching, for further assistance to finish. I mean, when I just did a cursory check of the number of copies that we would need to print to give each school library at least one, I think we're in the thousands. So if anybody has any spare money, I hear a lot of money going around as to the principal on his phone, and you know, Dr. Henry is here. Yeah, you have to sort out Michael's salary. Okay, all right. All right, so I just want to say that. The other thing I want to say as well is that the YouTube channel, as well as the animation series and so on, will be available via the CSGM website. All right, we are currently uploading that, so that will be available. It's freely available as well, and we want to ensure that everybody has access to it. Last by no means least, let me just mention, just before I get into the vote of thanks formally, is that a project of this nature that was dealing with construction, it was dealing with renewable energy solutions, it was bringing together things in Braille, it was also trying to find customized material to attract the attention and keep the attention of children, could not be by any means accomplished by just one entity doing this. It really took the collaborative effort of several different persons. And so I just wanted to put your hands together for all the collaborators that actually came together to make this a reality. So now, thankfully, let me go to the vote of thanks. I want to thank the Honorable Minister for Education and Youth. I'm sure Minister had several competing events this morning. The fact that she chose ours, which we say might not be the most glamorous, you know, is an indication of her commitment to this whole trust of education in the nation with the information that is critical. Climate change represents an existential threat to our survival, and so we want to thank the Minister for having graced us with her presence. Ms. Denise Antonio, who was not able to be present in person, we certainly felt her spirit by her very spirited speech that was given, and also the fact that she was also available online as well. We want to thank her very much. And the UNDP is the implementing partner for the Jeff Small Grants Program, so we want to thank her as well. I want to thank my principal, who was not just my PhD examiner, and it was a very hard one, but anyways. But Professor Weber, being himself an environmental scientist, understands how important it is for us to demonstrate by our actions and by our presence the importance of a matter like this. And so, sir, I thank you very much for taking the time, especially the fact you sat at the same table with me. Thank you very much as well. But more importantly, the fact that we also have to continue this educational process. We cannot wait until the students get to UWI. We have to reach them where they are. So thank you very much, sir. I appreciate that very much. Ms. Hyacinth Douglas, initially when the project was conceived, what actually came out of a workshop like this, a meeting like this, where we were actually launching the State of the Caribbean, the Jamaica Climate Report. And Hyacinth came to us and said, why don't you do something for schools, as I recall? And we said, okay, we'll do something for the schools. And halfway through the process, then she said to us, well, why not expand it beyond just doing a textbook and do something else and incorporate, you know, all of these gardens and we're like, but that's expanding the range. But she was visionary. She saw something just beyond a teaching tool. She saw something that would be more impactful if it is packaged together. And so, Hyacinth, I want to thank her very much for that. And I also want to thank Ms. Barnaby, the chair of the National Steering Committee, because they actually approved the increased grant as well. I'd also like to thank the team from PIOJ. Dr. Wayne, I told him this morning when I saw him in a previous life, I was going to call him Wayne or Capo. But no, he's a big man, so I can't call him that anymore. But Dr. Wayne actually sat on the steering committee of the National Steering Committee for the Small Grants Program in another incarnation when he was the World Bank representative here. And now, as a donor, you know, PIOJ has not just come on board as an implementing partner, but they've actually come and put their money where their mouth is. And they've actually installed and helped us with the installation of weather stations. They've also provided significant resources for us to help with this event itself, with the book itself, and also along the way, every time we needed help, they were there to help us. Thank you so much, sir. Claire Bernard, thank you very much, Ms. Bernard, and Mr. Lehome Johnson, always there for us. Really appreciate the team from PIOJ. And you can give them an applause right there, ladies and gentlemen. That's fine with you. One of the partners that has always been difficult to get on board is the private sector. You really have to pique their interest in order to get them on board. But I will say that the NCB Foundation came on board so easily. I mean, it was just in fact, it was an initiative. I went there to transact business, and while we were there, the lady just asked me, where are you from? And I said, the Climate Studies Group. And she said, you're not doing anything? And I said, a lot of stuff. And the conversation led to one thing to another, and the next thing I knew, they availed a check for us to participate and to actually have different copies of the book. So thank you so much, NCB Foundation. We appreciate that very much. The Association of Commonwealth Universities actually heard about the project, and they decided that they didn't want the project to be limited only to the 7 schools. So they have provided additional resources so we can expand the training beyond the 7 schools after this phase to include a number of other schools. So I want to thank them as well. Ms. Erica Horton from the pilot program for climate resilience, the project manager, at the end of her project, I was telling her about this initiative, and she said, just go in the office and all the memorabilia that you see, all these bags and stuff, you can just have them for this event. And I want to thank her wholeheartedly for that. Thank you very much, Erica. The Meteorological Service, not only did Evan do such a good job with the moderation this morning, but they helped us with the field reconnaissance for the installation of the weather stations. And they're also putting them online to ensure that they are part of the global climate observing system, and that the information is also remotely available even via your cell phone. So give the Met Service a hand. Thank you so much for that. Really appreciate that. In the bags of all the persons from the disabled community is a combo package. It's a very small thing, but it's very powerful. And Jackie Spence, the climate branch head in the Met Service, called and said, Dale, I want you to give this out at the launch. When I took it, I thought it was just a flashlight. When I started to wind it, I realized that it's not just a light, it's also a radio and a siren in case of any distress signal. And so I really want to thank them so very much for that. It's really very thoughtful. Dr. Bramwell, Dr. Therese Ferguson, Mr. Miguel Essen, thank you so very much, the team from the School of Education, for investing the time and the energy and the skill in the production of the book. We believe it is going to make a significant difference, especially for those that it targets who will go much further into the future than we will go. Right, Evan? Okay. All right. And I want to also say it is a classic example of how we can come together in an interdisciplinary manner, an interdepartmental collaboration to produce something much bigger than any individual department would produce. So thank you so very much for that. The Combined Disabilities Association and also the Center for Disability Studies, headed by Dr. Floyd Morris at the University of the West Indies, did a lot for us. First of all, the State of the Climate Change report was actually presented in sign language with special sound effects, thanks to Dennis and his team, the studio. Thank you very much for that, and Incrementic. And of course, the Combined Disabilities Association presented the stuff in Braille for us. Really, really grateful for that. Dennis, you and your wife, again, we always know you set a standard of excellence, but again, you exceeded it this morning, so thank you very much for that. All right. My own Bishop Hogarth McCoy, who came all the way from Otrius just to be with us this morning. Sir, thank you very much. You set the tone for us well in prayer. God bless you. Thank you. Of course, no event on climate change can ever be complete without a word from the evangelist of climate change, Professor Michael Taylor himself. So, sir, thank you very much for that very thought-provoking presentation, well put together, in a manner that makes it easy for us to assimilate the information. Thank you very much. I won't speak any further, but let us give him a round of applause. My own head of department, Dr. Tanisha Stevenson, in her own inimitable style, that represented the department so well with a very warm greeting and content to show that initiatives of this kind are of paramount importance to every single Jamaican. Dr. Stevenson, thank you so very much. And I have to get used to calling her by her correct title, Professor Tanisha Stevenson. Thank you very much. For all the principals of the schools, some of you have traveled from near and from far. Thank you very much for coming. And one of the things that I learned from this experience, all the 7 schools represented a different dynamic. There are some of them that are in deep rural areas, some of them are in urban areas. But one of the things that stood out to me in all the interactions that we had with them was that they were saying, Dale, to see a university, a tertiary institution, taking the time out to interface with us and try to find a solution at our level, we are deeply appreciative. And so I want to give the principals a big up this morning. Thank you so very much for that. There are several other persons that I could mention. The team that did the construction of the gazebos, Mr. Samuels and his team. The persons that help us with the endemic plants, Mr. Patrick Lewis. The renewable energy solution, that is Redis, Mr. Kevin Mills, Mr. David Bain. Mara Marai, I see my good friend Jonathan Kelly here, Immaculate Sales and Service for the tents, and the Jamaica Pegasus Hotel itself for the hospitality. Thank you very much. I want to go to two teams that we don't normally herald. I want to thank Mr. Ishmael Preston from the MITS, our IT center at the University of the West Indies, for providing the necessary multimedia facilities and services. You were always so professional and patient with us, despite our many, many requests. Thank you so very much. Now, Evan, there's a nexus between sound engineers and Met Service. The nexus is you don't normally talk about them until something goes wrong. So when the Met Service makes a forecast that people think is wrong, that's when they say the Met Service is in league with the supermarket. Well, we don't normally talk about our sound engineer unless the system sound crack, it don't work and everything like that. Well, I want to big up Mr. Aaron and Mr. Boris this morning, not because something went wrong, but because something went right. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Mr. Hugh Bartley for videography services and streaming, the UE admin team. I want to thank, if you look on each of the tables here, there's a centerpiece and some plans here that was provided by VB Decoration and Planning, and they did it free of cost. I want to thank them very much. She's a principal, she's a member of our staff at the University of the West Indies, and so I want to thank her as well. Lastly, I want to thank a friend of mine who's actually online. When this project started in 2018, before the COVID era, Dr. Kimberly Stevenson was my co-project manager, and I can tell you she worked really hard. She's in Canada. She told me, she gave me a hail up this morning, Dale, I'm online. Kim, thank you so, so very much. Really appreciate it. And so I want to now thank, finally, the members of the planning team. They're on the outside. They're here, some of them in here, Rodika, Michael, Terry, Dion, Stephanie, Fredian, and Tracia, my current co-project manager. They have worked so very hard. And I want to also thank all the persons who are actually on the cover of the book. I have a couple of them here. Dr. Ashman. Dr. Ashman, can you stand, please? I think she's in the audience. Thank you so very much. Thanks, Doc, really. And Miss Nicola Folks is also here. Nikki, can you just stand? Thank you very much for volunteering your face on the cover of the book. Thank you very much. And lastly, I want to say thanks to just about everybody who took the time to be here. Without you, we would not have had an event. And it's one of those rare occasions when a program almost run 1 hour ahead, despite us starting a little off. All right, so give yourselves a hand, ladies and gentlemen. I want to thank you. And for others unnamed, thank you very much. Now, we're not at the end, nor at the beginning of the end, but we're at the end of the beginning. Now is when the work really starts. Now is when the action gets on the road, and we are going to go in every nook and cranny to educate, to empower, and to give our nation that information, critical information, that is actionable, and that will make a difference, a tangible difference in the life and livelihoods of all. God bless you. God bless Jamaica. Have a good one.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Rankin. Ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the end. What else is to be done? First, I want to apologize for Hyacinth Douglas, who had to depart a little bit early. She asked me to specially apologize on her behalf. And ladies and gentlemen, there are refreshments that are provided for you at the end while you're serenaded with beautiful music from Dennis and Carolisa Rushton. So we will continue to hear some music as we enjoy each other's company, keeping as much distance as you can, but of course you might have to remove the mask to take a little bite and to take a little sip. But of course, obey the protocols, please. And ladies and gentlemen, it has been my pleasure leading you this morning, and I wish you all the very best for the rest of your day, and also as you celebrate Tuesday. Have a good day.
Aki go all instead market, not talk what he would sell. Yeah, me Aki go all instead market, not talk what he would sell. Oh Lord, what a night, not a bite. What a Saturday night. Lord, what a night, not a bite. What a Saturday night. Everybody come feel up what them mama no bring. Everybody come feel up what them mama no bring. Oh Lord, what a night, not a bite. What a Saturday night. Lord, what a night, not a bite. What a Saturday night. Slime and goose, your name gone abroad. Slime and goose, your name gone abroad. Mongoose went down to Bedward kitchen, take out one of him righteous chicken, put it in him waistcoat pocket. Slime and goose, slime and goose, your name gone abroad. Slime and goose, your name gone abroad. Mongoose went down to Bedward kitchen, take out one of him righteous chicken, put it in him waistcoat pocket. Slime and goose, slime and goose, your name gone abroad. Slime and goose, your name gone abroad. Mongoose went down to Bedward daughter, ask her if he could have some water. Bedward daughter say, what's the matter? Slime and goose, slime and goose, your name gone abroad. Slime and goose, your name gone abroad. Mongoose take out $1 and a quarter, give it to old Bedward daughter. Bedward daughter say, my lord and master. Slime and goose, slime and goose, your name gone abroad. Slime and goose, your name gone abroad. Mongoose went down to Bedward kitchen, take out one of him righteous chicken, put it in him waistcoat pocket. Slime and goose. Go down Emmanuel Road, girl and boy, pick up rock stone. Go down Emmanuel Road, girl and boy, pick up rock stone. Broke them one by one, broke them 2 by 2, broke them 3 by 3, broke them 4 by 4. Finger a mash, don't cry. Remember I play, we a play. So if you remember I play, we a play. Remember I play, we a play. Go down Emmanuel Road, girl and boy, pick up rock stone. Go down Emmanuel Road, girl and boy, pick up rock stone. Broke them 1 by 1, broke them 2 by 2, broke them 3 by 3, broke them 4 by 4. Finger a mash, don't cry. Finger a mash, don't cry. Finger a mash, don't cry. We say remember I play, we a play. Go down Emmanuel Road. Go down Emmanuel Road. Go down Emmanuel Road. Go down Emmanuel Road. Hold him, Joe. Hold him, Joe. Hold him, Joe, and no let him go. Hold him, Joe. Hold him, Joe. Hold him, Joe, and no let him. The donkey want water. The donkey want tea. The donkey want coffee. And rice and peas. Hold him, Joe. Hold him, Joe, and no let him. Hold him, Joe. Hold him, Joe. Hold him, Joe, and no let him. The donkey want saltfish. The donkey want soup. The donkey want coffee and tiramisu. Hold him, Joe, and no let him. Hold him, Joe, hold him, Joe, hold him, Joe, and no let him. Sammy plant peas and corn down a gully. I need beer till it kill poor Sammy. Sammy dead, Sammy dead, Sammy dead, oh. Sammy dead, Sammy dead, Sammy dead, oh. I know thieves and me thief make them kill him. I know thieves and me thief make them kill him. But I was full, yes, I was full, make them kill him. But I was full, yes, I was full, make them kill him. Ah, who says Sammy dead? Ah, who says Sammy dead? Ah, who says Sammy dead? Him no dead, oh. Ah, who says Sammy dead? Sammy plant piece of corn down a gully. And the bear till it kill poor Sammy. Sammy dead, Sammy dead, Sammy dead, oh. Sammy dead, Sammy dead, Sammy dead, oh. And no thief, Sammy thief, make them kill him. And no thief, Sammy thief, make them kill him. But a grudgeful, yes, a grudgeful, make them kill him. But a grudgeful, yes, a grudgeful, make them kill him. Ah, who says Sammy dead? Ah, who says Sammy dead? Ah, who says Sammy dead? Him no dead, oh. Ah, who says Sammy dead? I lie them a tell. Ah, who says Sammy dead? Him no dead, oh. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. It was a pleasure entertaining you.
Biofuels. 31% of electricity generation could come from renewables by 2030 and approximately 50% from renewables by 2037. Improve energy efficiency and conserve energy. Waste. Minimize the amount of waste produced at various stages. For example, production, distribution, consumption, and disposal. Recycle waste. Utilize waste for energy production, for example, for biofuels. Carbon dioxide removal technologies. Forestry. Conserve existing forest cover. Practice agroforestry, which is to change farming practices to deliberately grow trees alongside non-tree crops and animals on the same piece of land. Prevent and control forest fires. Education. Raise awareness about climate change. Develop awareness, skills, and actions in the support of mitigation and adaptation strategies. Let's make a change. A Caribbean primer for teaching climate change. What is climate change? According to scientists, the Earth's climate has been changing for a while, and the role of humans in the rate of the change has been a cause for concern. Climate change affects every aspect of our lives. A series of disastrous climate-related events have been experienced around the world. This makes climate change an urgent issue for all of us, but especially for young people like you who may have to face its most severe effects in the future. Climate change is caused by various natural and man-made factors. Natural factors include volcanic eruptions. Man-made factors, also called anthropogenic factors, include activities resulting from population and economic growth, such as transportation, electricity, or agricultural production. Most times when we refer to climate change today, we are referring to the changes we have seen due to human factors. These activities release greenhouse gases into the air. These greenhouse gases released from human activities increase the natural greenhouse effect, which works to warm the earth and sustain life. The first climatic change that is therefore often observed is a long-term increase in average temperatures. Overall, the world has steadily warmed due to human factors since the pre-industrial period. The warming of the world has led to other changes in climate, including in rainfall patterns, storm events, and sea levels. Let's make a change. A Caribbean primer for teaching climate change. The science of climate change. Are weather and climate the same? What is weather? When we receive daily news reports from the radio or television, there is a segment for the weather, and we will find out if it may be sunny, cloudy, warm or rainy in our parish and for other parishes. The term weather refers to the day-to-day condition of the atmosphere over a specific place. Atmospheric conditions are affected by a combination of factors, such as air pressure, temperature, and humidity. The scientist who studies these atmospheric factors and makes predictions about the weather is called a meteorologist. These predictions or forecasts are usually educated guesses, based on the factors that the scientists study with the help of technological instruments. What is climate? Climate refers to the average atmospheric condition for a place or region over a long period of time, usually 20 to 30 years. This is generally reliable because it is based on data gathered and averaged over many years. Climate data includes sunshine, rainfall, air temperature, humidity, and wind. Climates around the world vary because of differences in the amount of solar radiation received in these areas. Places located closer to the equator receive more heat from the sun because the sun is directly overhead. These places are warmer than the areas closer to the North and South poles, where it is extremely cold. Therefore, the Earth is divided into climatic zones based on the amount of sunshine or heat and precipitation received in each area. Countries with similar weather patterns are in the same climatic zone. How does climate affect human activity? The variety of climates that exist influences the variety of life on planet Earth. Climatic conditions help in the formation of various ecosystems on which humans and other organisms depend. Climate influences the development of cultures. This is because our lives are influenced by our geographical climates. People everywhere have adapted in various ways to the climates in which they live. Climate influences our clothing, types of housing, agricultural practices, and vacation time. For example, persons in countries with cold weathers may go to countries with tropical climates during winter. Climate change is taking place globally and regionally within the Caribbean. In the region, some of the evidence for climate change includes warmer temperatures, greater variability in rainfall patterns, rising sea levels, and increases in frequency of extreme weather events, such as floods and droughts. Climate change is a very present and a real threat and can cause a range of environmental, economic, and social impacts for the Caribbean region. Examples of these impacts include coastal erosion, loss of coral reefs, mangroves, and other ecosystems, saltwater intrusion into coastal agricultural lands and aquifers, escalation of frequency and intensity of hurricanes or tropical storms, increase in frequency and severity of coastal inundation and flooding, disruptions in precipitation causing droughts, and availability of potable water supplies. Some islands being rendered inhospitable and expensive relocation and rebuilding exercises in others. Let's make a change. A Caribbean primer for teaching climate change. How has climate been changing? Temperature. The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, IPCC, has reported that the Earth's temperature is rising. Global air temperatures have increased by about 1.0 degrees Celsius from the 1900s to 2019. Around the world, sea surface temperatures have shown a similar magnitude increase since pre-industrial period. Rainfall. Global rainfall trends vary widely by region and over time. there have generally been significant changes in amount, intensity, frequency, and type of precipitation. For example, rain, snow, hail, and sleet for various parts of the world. In the Caribbean, there is usually a wet season from May to November and a dry season from December to April. The wet season can be divided into early season from May to July and the late season from September to November. More than 90% of the rainfall is received during the wet season. There is much variability in rainfall patterns in the Caribbean, with some years being very dry and others being very wet. This means that when the amount of rain is considered over many years, there is no discernible overall trend. However, although there exists no clear trend in the amount of rainfall received, there are observed increases in the extreme events that may cause an increase in drought and flooding events. More droughts are being reported in the months that are usually wet. Rainfall patterns will shift with the number of consecutive dry days expected to increase. It is projected that by the mid-2020s, there will be 0 to 2% less rainfall annually. By the 2030s and 2050s, it is projected that it will be up to 4% and 10% drier respectively. The most severe projection states that Jamaica may be 21% more or less drier by 2100. Tropical storms and hurricanes. Beginning in 1995, data analysis showed a dramatic increase in the frequency and duration of hurricanes, with an almost doubling of Category 4 and 5 hurricanes. While the number of intense hurricanes has been rising, the maximum intensity of hurricanes has, however, remained fairly constant over the period. In the Caribbean, the trend is similar, with an increase in the frequency and duration of Atlantic hurricanes since 1995. There has also been an increase in the number of Category 4 and 5 hurricanes, rainfall intensity, associated peak wind intensities, and mean rainfall over the same period. Sea level rise. The rate of sea level rise increased from the mid-19th to the mid-20th century. During the 20th century, sea level rose at an average rate of 4.8 to 8.8 inches per century. Let's make a change. A Caribbean primer for teaching climate change. Climate change, mitigation, and adaptation. One final word. Living things need energy to fulfill various needs and to stay alive. The main source of energy for planet Earth is the sun. The sun provides energy in a form that plants use to make food. Other organisms then get energy from plants. The radiation from the sun warms the earth and helps us to survive. It is important to maintain an energy balance so that all organisms in ecosystems can benefit. The sun plays an important role in determining the climates of the earth. Different parts of the earth have different climates. Climates have been formed and have changed naturally over time. However, climate has been changing at a faster rate in recent times, mainly because of human activities such as burning fossil fuels, cutting down large numbers of trees, and industrial activities which release large amounts of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. Excess carbon dioxide in the atmosphere is one of the main causes of climate change. Changing climates result in conditions that affect the survival of humans and other organisms. Climate change is evident in increasing temperatures, which are projected to exceed by 2 degrees Celsius globally over the next 100 years. This will lead to climate change effects such as sea level rise, flooding, intense hurricanes, and a decrease in available clean water for domestic purposes that are critical for our health and wellness. These impacts will be greatest for the most vulnerable among us, such as those living in small island developing states like Jamaica. Can we do anything about it? Yes, we can. Energy. Reduce dependence on imported fossil fuels. Utilize more types of sustainable or renewable energy. For example, solar energy, wind energy, wave energy, and biofuels. 31% of electricity generation could come from renewables by 2030, and approximately 50% from renewables by 2037. Improve energy efficiency and conserve energy. Waste. Minimize the amount of waste produced at various stages. For example, production, distribution, consumption, and disposal. Recycle waste. Utilize waste for energy production, for example, for biofuels. Carbon dioxide removal technologies. Forestry. Conserve existing forest cover. Practice agroforestry, which is to change farming practices to deliberately grow trees alongside non-tree crops and animals on the same piece of land. Prevent and control forest fires. Education. Raise awareness about climate change. Develop awareness, skills, and actions in the support of mitigation and adaptation strategies. Let's make a change. A Caribbean primer for teaching climate change. What is climate change? According to scientists, the Earth's climate has been changing for a while, and the role of humans in the rate of the change has been a cause for concern. Climate change affects every aspect of our lives. A series of disastrous climate-related events have been experienced around the world. This makes climate change an urgent issue for all of us, but especially for young people like you who may have to face its most severe effects in the future. Climate change is caused by various natural and man-made factors. Natural factors include volcanic eruptions. Man-made factors, also called anthropogenic factors, include activities resulting from population and economic growth, such as transportation, electricity, or agricultural production. Most times when we refer to climate change today, we are referring to the changes we have seen due to human factors. These activities release greenhouse gases into the air. These greenhouse gases released from human activities increase the natural greenhouse effect, which works to warm the earth and sustain life. The first climatic change that is therefore often observed is a long-term increase in average temperatures. Overall, the world has steadily warmed due to human factors since the pre-industrial period. The warming of the world has led to other changes in climate, including in rainfall patterns, storm events, and sea levels. Let's make a change. A Caribbean primer for teaching climate change. The science of climate change. Are weather and climate the same? What is weather? When we receive daily news reports from the radio or television, there is a segment for the weather, and we will find out if it may be sunny, cloudy, warm or rainy in our parish and for other parishes. The term weather refers to the day-to-day condition of the atmosphere over a specific place. Atmospheric conditions are affected by a combination of factors, such as air pressure, temperature, and humidity. The scientist who studies these atmospheric factors and makes predictions about the weather is called a meteorologist. These predictions or forecasts are usually educated guesses based on the factors that the scientists study with the help of technological instruments. What is climate? Climate refers to the average atmospheric condition for a place or region over a long period of time, usually 20 to 30 years. This is generally reliable because it is based on data gathered and averaged over many years. Climate data includes sunshine, rainfall, air temperature, humidity, and wind. Climates around the world vary because of differences in the amount of solar radiation received in these areas. Places located closer to the equator receive more heat from the sun because the sun is directly overhead. These places are warmer than the areas closer to the North and South poles, where it is extremely cold. Therefore, the Earth is divided into climatic zones based on the amount of sunshine or heat and precipitation received in each area. Countries with similar weather patterns are in the same climatic zone. How does climate affect human activity? The variety of climates that exist influences the variety of life on planet Earth. Climatic conditions help in the formation of various ecosystems on which humans and other organisms depend. Climate influences the development of cultures. This is because our lives are influenced by our geographical climates. People everywhere have adapted in various ways to the climates in which they live. Climate influences our clothing, types of housing, agricultural practices, and vacation time. For example, persons in countries with cold weathers may go to countries with tropical climates during winter. Climate change is taking place globally and regionally within the Caribbean. In the region, some of the evidence for climate change includes warmer temperatures, greater variability in rainfall patterns, rising sea levels, and increases in frequency of extreme weather events, such as floods and droughts. Climate change is a very present and a real threat and can cause a range of environmental, economic, and social impacts for the Caribbean region. Examples of these impacts include coastal erosion, loss of coral reefs, mangroves, and other ecosystems, saltwater intrusion into coastal agricultural lands and aquifers, escalation of frequency and intensity of hurricanes or tropical storms, increase in frequency and severity of coastal inundation and flooding, disruptions in precipitation causing droughts, and availability of potable water supplies. Some islands being rendered inhospitable and expensive relocation and rebuilding exercises in others.